Morning, gang. I've had a lot of people ask me to start doing videos, and wasn't too sure about it, but kind of thought we'd do it. I'm Jeannie Sayers from Herbhome Farm, and we live in a hollow back in northwest Arkansas, in a beautiful area. You know, we're close to Buffalo National River, have a creek on our place, and big bluffs and everything. It's back on the National Forest, which is one of our dream ideas, you know. But today I'm going to be talking about our hoop greenhouse. It's a design I've used for a number of years now, and decided to expand a little bit and run into some design issues, and I thought maybe just talk about it. It's really important in our world to reuse and recycle and repurpose, and then also to have multiple purposes for almost everything we construct. You know, it's kind of just a way of life for us, you know. We're trying to do minimal impact on the property, so we're keeping the area that we have cleared very small. There's some old growth beech here, and it's just a preservation thing for us. We have a deep love of the woods and the native plants and so on that are here. And so it's going to be an ongoing task for us. And one of the things about the greenhouse is that during off-season or anything along that is that it will be a place for poultry, or should we have a small animal that needs a warm location, like if we have too many baby goats for the shed that we have and so on, there's a warm place there for it. Matter of fact, I plan on doing my chicks this year. We raised a lot of chickens over the year, and some for butchers, some just for laying hens, and then I raised guineas as the tick patrol. They run loose usually. But you need a safe place to keep them warm, and for as many as we do raise, the house gets a little overcrowded with baby chicks. So one end of the greenhouse is going to be dedicated to that. But it's just a multi-purpose thing. And some years back, I fell in love with the concept of using cattle panels to do this. I'm going to wander out to the garden now, so hang on. I'm undoing the electric fence, setting it back. We have the bees are in our garden area, so I set the electric wire back, and you know, we keep that up because we live on the National Forest and we have bears visit quite frequently. Our dogs keep them mostly at bay, but should the dogs be snoozing, we don't want to just have our bees destroyed. And many people in our area have been losing bees to bears. We have an increased bear population this year. It was a good year for bears to be born. But one of the things that I have found is that using the metal cattle panels for construction, you can see over my head here, they're basically 4 by 16 foot, and they've worked well for me in the past. I did a 12-foot greenhouse for years and felt it worked very well. You know, it gave me 3 beds and a lot of good usage. But this spring I'm going to try and do a rocket mass heater with a bench to use for my seed starting. So I increased the width of this to 16 foot. And it's made I've had to make some adjustments to my ideas and so on. But it is going to work really well. You know, we run, as you can see, we run the panels horizontally and then overlap panels to get our arch. The panels are 4 foot tall, and then 20-foot arch, and that will give me four good beds and good wide beds, and the room for the rocket heater. And on this other end here, right now it's full of storage, but on this other end we'll be putting in 2 brooders, and we do a homemade brooder, and it works really well. I'll show you that maybe another video. But basically, you trade labor for cost. You know, I've got $300 in this house where we're using some panels. I had to buy a few more. Wire, tie wire. I use good old Arkansas duct tape as padding at any point that there's a sharp edge. And that's a big issue, is to go over and make sure your sharp edges are paddled. Then I buy a 6mm 100-foot roll of 20-foot wide and cover the ends. I'm going to try, and I've always rolled up the edges and taken the ends down for summer, but I saw an idea on Johnny Select Seeds site of scissor doors, and I watched the video on putting it together, and I really like the concept on the ends here. I could put scissor doors up, and it will enable me to open them up and still roll up my sides. And often in the summer, I will completely take the plastic off and roll it up and put it away, and grow summer crops in here. Tomatoes, and I had a great batch of kale and so on. But this is currently a passive greenhouse. I usually can run crops up into late December if we get below zero, I'll lose things. But usually I have, where we are is on a knob, you know, kind of round rock pile basically. But there are some monster boulders at the backside of it. You know, this is not a level spot. I didn't bring in a dozer to level it. I would have had to drop it about 4 feet by hand digging. The way it is right now, I've got boulders along the back end. I can put my tables up over them. The boulders retain heat and release heat at night. And I've found there's about 6 degrees of warmth coming from them. I used to use a lot of barrels, but I found with this location, the boulders serve the same purpose. Many of you are familiar with the concept, I'm sure, of painting water barrels black and using that as a heat resource. I am thinking maybe of using a shade cloth on the back side to hold heat, you know, on the where the southern light hits it, to hold heat and release heat. And something to play with. Cost is an issue, you know. That's one of the reasons for doing all the recycling we do, is to keep our costs down. Anything on the place will get used multiple times, you know. If we have a tarp that we've used in good condition and it starts decaying on the 3rd or 4th year, gets cut up for shelter. It can be used for mud carrier, you know, like a mud mixing tarp for all of our cob projects. We do a lot of cob. For us, it's about working with our land rather than fighting it, you know. Yes, my greenhouse is on a slope, but when it warms up, I'll stack my tables and contour plant here in the greenhouse, you know. And I'll put my taller plants at the back, let the beans and tomatoes grow up on the cattle panels. There are a lot of different things like that go on, you know, and but the greenhouse concept has worked really well for us. I've used it now for probably 15 years. We took it down last year due to having a red oak tree and a couple of white oaks that had to come down. And we're just now getting it back up. But this has been a real successful design for me. It's worked. It's flexible. You know, we do the cattle panels. We line it with chicken wire to protect anything that we do have in here. It's been used for baby calves, baby goats. Neil had his pigeons in here originally when we first were given them. You know, it's just the whole design concept is awesome. You know, it's not lightweight. It is a semi-permanent structure. You know, there are pros and cons. You know, we're blessed that we have time to do things. What controls us is the turning of the seasons. You know, I have to have seeds in by a certain time for them to be producing it in the time frame I need them for both farmers market and for home use. It's an ongoing process, and it's part of our world. We love it. If we didn't, we wouldn't be doing it.